Hola amigos de Billboard. Bueno, hoy tenemos el honor de estar hablando con Tom Chaplin, cantante de Keane, y que está presentando su nuevo material de estudio, Midpoint. Let's talk a little bit about Midpoint. You were on tour with Keane, right, for cause and effect, and then the pandemic hit. So you took a little bit advantage of that lockdown and start to record your new record. Is that right?
I guess I did The Wave, which is my first solo album, and then I did a Christmas album that followed it up. And that got me to the end of, I think, 2017. I literally had nothing. I just couldn't think of anything that I wanted to write about. Well, I just sit and wait and see what happens, right? And it was funny because I phoned Tim up and I hadn't seen him for ages. And I said, "Oh, why don't you come over just before Christmas and we'll sit by the fire and have a chat?" And he came over and he kept saying to me, "Oh, I've written all these songs for a solo album and no one seems that interested in them." And I was like, surely that can't be the case, right? So I said, like, send me the songs. I'll have a listen to the songs and see what I think. And of course, so that couldn't have come at a better time in a way, because he sent me all these songs. A lot of those songs ended up on Cause and Effect, and there was a great energy there. And it was like, wow, this is the thing to do next. It's not to worry about solo stuff, but let's just do another Keane record. And that took us through 2018 and 2019, recording and then starting to tour that album. And then the pandemic hit. And it's interesting because I think, well, two things happened. Firstly, I think the creative process with Keane is very different to the way I would do things with a solo album. With Keane, obviously Tim does the writing. With solo stuff, it's me. And also with the solo stuff, I'm sort of always like branching out and meeting new people. Whereas with Keane, it's very much like it's a little gang, right? And we're all together, doing it together. And we've done it that way for 30 years or something. Anyway, so there was that. So during the touring of Cause and Effect, I started to think, I wonder about making another solo album. I felt like I had that sense of wanting to be more creative and have my own voice back a bit more again. I think that's just an inevitable part of doing Keane stuff, as it makes me inspired to do my own stuff as well. It's probably a bit of envy of Tim's songwriting in there, probably a bit of like sense of competitiveness. But anyway, it started me thinking like that. But anyway, then the pandemic hit. I ended up at home. We were in America. We were touring Cause and Effect. We had to come home, and then there was this whole period of time. I was like, well, what are we going to do? And it was interesting because I wanted to write, and then and then I was still doing therapy. I was doing it online with my therapist, and suddenly all these questions started to come up in my therapy about midlife, about where I'm at, and it was like, oh wow, this is the thing that I want to write about. I want to make a deliberately uncool record about about midlife, right?
I want to know if you have an anecdote, anything particular about a show in Argentina, something you remember. You always talk about the crowd and everything, but I want to know if you have something in mind.
I always find this a difficult question in a way, because I do feel like I'd probably just say the same thing every time, which is it's such a thrill. It's such a thrill to tour in Latin America. It just is. There's nothing quite like it. I think one of the things I was amazed by is every time we go to Argentina, the crowd seems to still be the same age that they like. It's like, I don't know quite what it is. It's like every time though, it feels like it's a really young audience. Or maybe it's just that, we keep attracting a new younger crowd and they're the ones that we can see at the front. But it does, honestly, that is really lovely. I guess in the UK, there's definitely a feeling like with streaming services and all of that we've attracted a new generation. But it's definitely, you look out and you see there are definitely probably more people there who fell in love with Hopes and Fears when it came out than have just fallen in love with it. Whenever I'm in Latin America, particularly Argentina, there are so many young people, and it's just like, that's a lovely, on one hand, it's just lovely experience to see that kind of exuberance and youthfulness in front of you, and young people loving it so much. It's good for the ego as well. Makes you feel kind of still like you're still relevant and still wanted, and that's not in small doses. That's a really nice thing to go and
Yeah.
enjoy for a few weeks every couple of years.
There must be something on the lyrics, on the records, that makes young people connect with that kind of feelings. It's amazing. When can we see you again in Argentina?
Well, with the solo stuff, it's a bit harder because I've got to make ends meet in terms of getting, tour to South America is expensive because everyone's got to fly. You've got to fly everyone everywhere and take your gear everywhere. But saying that, I'm hoping, because I did it with the Wave, with the first solo album, I did manage to get out to Latin America and had a great time. I'm trying to find a way of making it work for some point next year, because it's such a thrill that I want to try and do everything I can to be back again. Obviously, if that doesn't happen, then I'm sure with Keane there'll be more stuff further down the line. We've already talked about it, just because we loved it so much the last time we were over with you guys. We've got to do it again. I'm sure there'll be more. I'm sure that certainly, if not next year, then the following year, I'm sure either me or Keane will be back.